thing. I would like to see James Harden on another team. I would like to see him on the Cleveland Cavaliers. I do think he elevates the Cavs into being legit title contenders.
This is how a single trade on February 4th, 2026 transformed the Cleveland Cavaliers from Eastern Conference pretenders into legitimate championship favorites. The Cavaliers acquired 36-year-old James Harden from the Los Angeles Clippers in exchange for Darius Garland and a second-round pick, and the basketball world had questions, but the betting markets had answers right away. Cleveland's championship odds jumped from 22 to 1 to 12 to 1 overnight, and at FanDuel, they became the outright favorites to win the Eastern Conference. Last season, the Cleveland Cavaliers looked like they'd figured it out with a 64-18 record, the best in franchise history without LeBron James and their first #1 seed since 2016. Their offense was historic at 121.7 points per 100 possessions, leading the entire league, and they started the season 15, and only the fourth time in NBA history a team had done that. The Eastern Conference semifinals ended all of that when Indiana beat them in just 5 games. This season started with hope, same core with a new coach in Kenny Atkinson, but something was broken. Through 51 games, Cleveland sat at 30-21, 5th in the Eastern Conference, and their elite offense had fallen off a cliff by dropping 4.1 points per 100 possessions from last year and sitting 8th in the league. The problem was clear enough. Darius Garland, their 26-year-old two-time All-Star point guard, had missed 25 of those 51 games with injuries, and when he did play, he wasn't the same player at 18 points and 6.9 assists per game on worse shooting that dropped from 40.1% from 3 last season to just 36%. January 14th was the last time he'd been on the court. Donovan Mitchell was carrying a massive load at 28.8 points per game as a 6-time All-Star in his prime, but Mitchell has never advanced past the second round in his entire career. The Cavaliers needed help, and they needed it available right now. What makes this trade so explosive comes down to a simple fact. Harden and Mitchell are 2 of only 10 qualified players in the entire NBA averaging at least 25 points and 5 assists this season, and now they're teammates, the only 2 players from that elite group on the same roster. Harden is averaging 25.4 points per game at age 36, his highest scoring average since his Houston days in 2020 to 2021, while adding 8.1 assists and playing 35.4 minutes per game. Mitchell is putting up 28.8 points with 5.8 assists, and Yahoo Sports didn't mince words when they called this arguably the best backcourt in the NBA. Both players are capable of dropping 50-point games on any given night, and both can create their own shot from anywhere on the court. The defensive attention this duo will command is going to break defenses because when Harden has the ball, you can't help off Mitchell, and when Mitchell has the ball, you can't help off Harden. ESPN's Kevin Pelton noted that Harden ranked 11th in WARP, wins above replacement player, this season, making him the top-ranked player who wasn't even selected for the All-Star game. This isn't a washed version of Harden limping toward retirement. This is still an elite offensive weapon now paired with another elite offensive weapon. Gilbert Arenas called the trade an outright upgrade for a championship run, and with Mitchell finally getting a co-star who can shoulder the offensive load, the 6-time All-Star won't have to carry the team on his back every single night. Cleveland just added that second gear they've been missing all season. The Harden acquisition isn't just about backcourt scoring, though. It's about what James Harden has done throughout his entire career, which is make big men better. Cleveland has Jarrett Allen, a dominant defensive center and one of the best rim runners in the league. And James Harden has a decade-plus track record of turning centers into all-stars because this is what he does as a player. Harden averaged 8.1 assists per game before the trade, and a huge portion of those came from pick-and-roll situations with his big men where he doesn't just pass the ball but delivers it exactly where centers need it, right on time and in perfect position to finish. The spacing Harden creates is devastating to defend. When he comes off a screen, defenses have to show hard or he'll pull up from 30 feet. And that split-second hesitation is all Allen needs to roll hard to the rim. When Harden decides to attack downhill, defenders collapse and leave Allen wide open for dump-offs and easy finishes at the basket. Allen is already an elite player, but he's been operating in an offense that lost its rhythm this season after the Cavaliers dropped from the best offense in the NBA to 8th in the league. Allen's effectiveness depends on getting easy looks at the rim, and those opportunities dried up without consistent pick-and-roll creation from a healthy point guard. Harden solves that immediately, and NBC Sports put it simply when they said, Harden is instant offense even at age 36. A massive part of that offense comes from how he elevates the players around him, especially his bigs, and the pick-and-roll combination of Harden and Allen with Mitchell as a secondary attacker gives Cleveland 3 legitimate offensive threats on every possession. The betting markets believe Cleveland can actually reach the NBA Finals, and when you look at the Eastern Conference landscape right now, the path has never been clearer for them. The defending Eastern Conference champion Indiana Pacers lost Tyrese Halliburton to a torn Achilles, the Boston Celtics lost Jason Tatum to a torn Achilles for the entire season, and the Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending NBA champions who went 38-10 through late January, are in the Western Conference. The East is wide open in a way it hasn't been in years. Who's standing in Cleveland's way at this point? Detroit is 34-11 and playing great basketball, but they don't have the playoff experience or the top-end star power that Cleveland now possesses. New York hasn't proven they can advance deep in the playoffs, and without Tatum, Boston isn't the juggernaut they were last season. At FanDuel, Cleveland became the outright favorite to win the Eastern Conference after this trade, and at DraftKings their finals odds jumped from 22-1 to 12-1, leapfrogging Boston, San Antonio, and Detroit in one move. The markets are telling us something clear right now. Cleveland has as good a shot as anyone in the East to represent the conference in June. Think about the path they're looking at. In the first round, they'd face a lower seed without the firepower to match the Harden-Mitchell Allen trio. In the second round, maybe New York or a wounded Boston team, and then in the Eastern Conference Finals, probably Detroit. A team with a great record but no playoff pedigree, and no one who can match Cleveland's star talent. Gilbert Arenas nailed it when he said, "If everybody is in the East, I don't think they make this move. But because it's open, and the best team right now is Detroit to them, and New York?" The absence of Boston's full strength and Indiana's loss of Halliburton created a unique window that doesn't come around often. Cleveland went 64-18 last season and had the best offense in basketball, so they know how to win games. What they were missing was the playoff firepower to close out series when defenses tighten up and role players disappear in big moments. Harden and Mitchell give them that. 2 players who can get their own shot and break down defenses when the game slows to a crawl. This is a legitimate finals contender with a realistic path through an Eastern Conference that lost its 2 most dangerous teams to catastrophic injuries. Sports betting markets are ruthless truth-tellers that don't care about narratives or feelings. They care about probability and money, and when the Harden trade was announced, the markets moved hard in Cleveland's favor. At DraftKings, Cleveland's NBA Finals odds jumped from plus 2,200 to plus 1,200 overnight, a massive shift that moved them from 22-1 long shots to 12-1 legitimate contenders. The Cavaliers leapfrogged the Boston Celtics, San Antonio Spurs, and Detroit Pistons in the championship pecking order, and became tied with the New York Knicks for the 3rd shortest title odds in the league, trailing only the Oklahoma City Thunder and Denver Nuggets. At FanDuel, the story was even more dramatic, with Cleveland going from 4th in the East to becoming the outright favorite to represent the conference in the NBA Finals. Their odds improved to plus 1,100 for the championship, 3rd in the entire league, and at BetMGM they're tied with Boston at plus 400 for the East, behind only Detroit at plus 350 and New York at plus 375. The consensus is clear across every major sportsbook. The Cavaliers are now one of the 3 or 4 most likely teams to win the Eastern Conference. The betting markets looked at Cleveland adding instant offense and availability to a team that was already a 64-win squad last year, and they liked what they saw enough to move significant money on Cleveland's championship chances. Cleveland pulled the trigger now with just 2 days until the February 6th trade deadline, and this wasn't panic, it was calculation based on multiple factors that all pointed in the same direction. The availability question came first. Harden played 44 of 47 games before the trade, while Garland missed 25 of 51. And if you're trying to win a championship, you need your best players on the court consistently. The financial flexibility angle made sense too, because Harden's contract is an expiring deal with minimal guaranteed money next season, which means if this doesn't work, Cleveland can walk away this summer without long-term consequences. The offensive identity crisis was real, with Cleveland going from having the best offense in the NBA to watching that offense fall to 8th in the league in a 4.1 point per 100 possession drop that changed everything about their season. Mitchell's window factored into the decision as well, with him at 28 years old as a 6-time All-Star in his absolute prime averaging nearly 29 points per game but never advancing past the 2nd round in his career. Championship windows don't announce themselves with trumpets. You have to recognize them and act fast. The Cavaliers recognized theirs and made the move. The risks are significant enough that we need to talk about them honestly. Harden's ball-dominant style could clash with Kenny Atkinson's ball movement system. And the numbers show this tension clearly. Harden holds the ball for an average of 6 seconds per touch, the longest in the entire NBA. The age concern is real too, with Harden at 36 approaching 37, and the question becomes, can he maintain this level of play through a deep postseason run, or will the tank finally hit empty at the worst possible moment? Then there's the history that follows Harden everywhere he goes. 2012 NBA Finals saw him score in single digits in 3 of 5 games. Last year with Philadelphia, he put up 9 points in Game 7, and last year with the Clippers, he scored 7 points in Game 7 against Denver. His career playoff scoring average of 22.5 points per game sits lower than his regular season average of 24.1, which tells you everything about how he performs under pressure. Kevin Pelton put it diplomatically when he said, "Certainly, I understand the concern about adding Harden to a team with NBA Finals aspirations given his track record of playoff underperformance." Yardbarker called this a high-risk trade, and they're not wrong about that assessment. Did the James Harden trade make the Cleveland Cavaliers championship frontrunners? The betting markets say yes without hesitation. FanDuel has them as the favorites to win the Eastern Conference. DraftKings moved them to 12-1 for the title, third in the league, and multiple books show them in the top 3 or 4 teams in either conference. Cleveland traded an injured 26-year-old point guard for a healthy 36-year-old scoring machine and bet on availability over potential, on immediate impact over long-term fit. The Eastern Conference is wide open right now, and if there was ever a year for Cleveland to make a move like this, 2026 is that year with Kenny Atkinson in his first season as head coach, Donovan Mitchell in his prime and never tasting a conference finals, and James Harden at 36 years old with 0 championships and running out of chances. Whether James Harden can finally deliver when it matters most will determine if Cleveland's gamble was genius or just another what could have been story. Right now, on February 4th, 2026, the Cleveland Cavaliers are championship frontrunners again, and for James Harden, this might be the last time he can say that.